Good afternoon. We are live. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna grab a bottle of water. I'll be right back. But welcome to Mondays with Miko. This is the primary edition. So I'm starting it a little bit earlier today. And for those that are joining me on replay, I thank you so much for watching. It's going to be quite a day. It's going to be quite a day. And the young man I have coming up first, I cannot wait for y'all to meet him. Really can't wait for y'all to meet him. So let me tell you about today, what it's about and what I'm going to be doing. So I offered across the board, I always offer candidates, people who are change makers in the community that want to use this platform of Mondays with Miko to come on board and talk to you. And 4 people said yes, let's do it. But the offer is always out there because I really want our community to be informed, right? And when you think about the decisions we have to make starting tomorrow, because tomorrow is the beginning of early vote. And when I wrap up, I'm going to talk to you about that and a little bit about redistricting and how important it is for you to vote actually on tomorrow. All right. And so the reason why I'm doing these 4 Monday with Miko sessions today, because it takes a lot of time, y'all. But I wanted you to be able to hear, in case you haven't been able to meet these folks on person. I want you to have the opportunity to ask them any questions that you want to ask. And I do want to be clear that any opinions that will be expressed today are those opinions of the candidate that's talking, may not necessarily be the opinion of Miko Pickett. And in no case is anything that I'm doing today directly related to my position as mayor or the city of Mullins. So this is our opportunity to ask questions. And I beg you, ask questions. No question is silly. No question is not, ask them if you want to know what they do for fun. Ask them about that. Because I think we should know the folks that are running for office, and especially when they're running for these statewide positions. And we have an opportunity this year, y'all, to really go out, to really exercise our right to vote, and to really select people that are going to make a difference in our community. So I invite you all, come in. I know you're going to learn some things today. Please like it and share it to your other pages, because it's time for conversations. And, one of the things somebody has said to me that they really like how the candidates are coming to Marion County. Well, keep in mind, hold on 1 second. Had to close the door. So they're not just coming to Marion County. They are in Marion County because we have asked them to come. Rural communities have not had a voice for a long time. And it's strategic on the parts of candidates because they figure they can go to the bigger cities and the urban areas and get more votes than all of us combined. But we have to stand up. We have to say, no, our vote counts, our vote matters. You need to come to us. You need to be on our platforms, and then we will vote for you. So I'm excited about that. So let me just go ahead and introduce you to my first of this Mondays with Miko primary edition. His name is Vincent Coe. I'm gonna go ahead and bring him to the stage. And hey, Vincent.
Hi, Mayor. How are you?
I'm doing great. And so let me tell the folks how I met you. Okay. He probably doesn't even remember meeting me, but I was in the room. So I had went to an event in Florence, and this young man stood up and said, "I'm running for state treasurer." And I'm breaking that news right here, right now. And I was in the room.
Wow. I did not realize that.
Yes. Listen, the boldness of what you did in that moment in Florence. I was like, he don't know who's in this room. He don't know who's recording it. But that's how he announced his campaign. Wow. And I said to myself, I got to get to know this person. And you had a little teeny something speech that you went ahead and did. and
do.
it was just awesome. It really was, and
Wow,
I've been following.
thank you for mentioning that because I did not realize. Well, and just so happened in that room was my high school principal when I announced as well. It was not planned, so
Mhm.
I just believe things happen like that because we're on an assignment. So, but we can talk about that.
Yes, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. So, if you could take a couple minutes and
Sure.
introduce yourself to the people, tell us in 2 minutes or three, tell us about Vincent Coe, and then we're going to ask you about state treasurer.
Awesome. Okay. Well, great. Well, again, thank you, Mayor, for having me. Vincent Coe, who is he? I am a small town, born and raised gentleman from Darlington, South Carolina, youngest of four. So when you were talking about small towns, that just immediately resonates. I graduated from Lamar High School 2003. I'm a graduate of University of South Carolina, Darla School of Business, and also graduate of Case Western Reserve University School of Law. So I'm a lawyer, but I don't practice. And I started my career in public service at the Lieutenant Governor's office, where I served all the constituents of South Carolina, but particularly seniors and people with disabilities. That's how I started my career. Before I even went into finance, I started serving people. And so I just believe that same message or that same desire to serve has stayed with me even up until today. So today I serve as vice president of community reinvestment and fair lending at a bank in Greenville, South Carolina. And my job is to ensure that the bank is providing fair and equitable services to all of the communities that it serves. So when you know anything about CRA, it's really important for all those small town communities. So that's what I do on a day-to-day basis. I am also a licensed minister, but I don't have a church, but I minister wherever I can, all over whenever I
Okay.
get the call. So that's a little bit about me. That's a little bit about me.
Wow, that's a lot. Okay, all right. So from attorney, but you don't practice,
Yes,
minister, but you don't have a church right now,
that's right.
and finance, deep, true, and blue. And now
Yes,
you're in finance, but you're still serving the community.
that's right.
It seems like to me, your crossroads, being the
Yes,
minister, being the attorney,
yes.
and having this expertise in finance is maybe what's bringing you to this table.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is, I think it certainly is. And you may get to this, but I just felt like at this moment, all across the state, and even not just the state of South Carolina, but the nation, I think a question has been asked. Well, what are you going to do? And I think that's every single citizen. What are you going to do about what's happening in the world? And it, to
But
me,
wait, let's hold
that's
that.
one. Yes, yep.
Let's because I want to go there. But
Yes,
what I want folks to understand is a lot of times when we go to vote, we
yes.
don't know who all these people are running for treasurer, running for comptroller, running
That's right.
for, secretary this and secretary that. We don't even know
Yes,
what they do.
that's right.
And now we got to pick somebody. So I'm gonna tell you the truth. When I go to pick, a lot of times, if I'm not gonna say, but if you don't know the name, you got to have some kind of rhyme or reason, right?
That's right.
But I want them to know the names of the folks. Tell us, what does the state treasurer do in South
Got it.
Carolina? You
Yeah.
just
So
give a wee bit of education, and then we're going to find out what you will do, Vincent Coe.
absolutely. Yeah. So for the basic, simplest way to think of it, the treasurer is the state's banker, and he is, in essence, the watchdog of taxpayer money. Most people don't realize that the treasurer manages over $70 billion of taxpayer money. That's a lot of money.
That's a lot.
And so it impacts
You
South
said
Carolina.
70 with a
70
B.
with the B, 70 with the
So is
B.
that what's coming through constantly, or that's what's kind of sitting there?
I think it's just sort of the aggregate, what comes through what comes through
Okay.
there in total. So there's the there's taxes, there's investments, there's this college savings plan. He has a lot of hands in a lot of those different. He or she, they have a lot of hands in those pots, right? So it's basically the hub of all money flowing through South Carolina.
Okay. Okay. So that makes sense. And so it's an elected position. So
Yes,
it's important that we understand the background of someone that's going to be in that position.
that's
So
right.
I'm gonna interview you.
Okay,
Let's just pretend that you're coming to be my accountant.
okay.
So how many years experience do you have that makes you qualified for a position such as state treasurer?
Sure. So I have nearly, actually probably just over 20 years experience. I started out as a bank examiner back at the FDIC. So that's how I started my career. I started my career examining banks, basically looking to see if they're safe and sound. That's on a risk management side, and then also seeing if they are carrying out policies and procedures that are fair and consistent to all consumers. So there's really two different pieces that you look at it from that standpoint. As a when I started my career at the FDIC, this was at a time when banks were closing like every single week. This was right after the mortgage crisis, so they're kind of when the bubble
Which
burst.
one? The one in
Yeah,
2007? Or the
the
one
one in
in
2000,
2000?
yeah, the one in
I,
2007. So
I
2000.
remember that.
That's right.
I was at a financial institution too. It was
Okay.
terrifying. A
Yeah.
matter of fact, I sold a house in 2008.
Mm-hmm.
I barely got out. I
Wow.
barely got out without losing my shirt.
Right.
So that it's important
Yes.
that we have qualified, skilled people. And so you was there in the middle of that.
Yes, absolutely. So I joined. So I was hired at the end of 2008, and I actually started. As a matter of fact, the first day I started was when Barack Obama was inaugurated. I want to think it was January 9th of 2008.
Wow.
And so it was. I always remember that. But so the first 6 months, I was in Dallas, Texas, and like I said, banks were closing every like left, right, and center. So what the role of the FDIC, and I'll just kind of give folks a little bit of historical knowledge. The FDIC preserves confidence in the banking system. So if banks are
Right.
closing left, right, and center, folks, should I put my money in the bank kind of thing? So my job was to make sure that we are protecting the depositors in those financial institutions. And so that's how I started my career in banking. And so since then, I just have continued to use that to help me to make sure that folks are protected.
Yeah. Oh no, you didn't freeze on me, did you?
No, no.
Okay, good. Okay,
Okay.
so now my next question is, so that sounds great. What would you say your greatest strength is? Because you got a lot going on. What is your greatest strength? If you had to pick one, remember
Yeah,
you're in a job interview right now. What would be your greatest strength?
absolutely. I think my greatest strength is servant leadership. And I know that's a broad term, but I just believe that the real leaders serve. And how you lift people is by pushing them forward. And I build consensus. Just what I do. I believe that there is no one person that has all the right answers. So I'm always listening to see what else is missing or what can I do to help push something forward. And so I build consensus is what I do on a day-to-day basis.
Got you.
Yeah.
So Mark Hammond, that's his name, right? Because I have a letter from him.
Yeah. Mark Hammond's the Secretary of State.
Yes, Secretary of State. That's different than treasurer. Who's the current treasurer?
Current treasurer is Curtis Loftus.
And how long has he been treasurer, you know?
I believe Curtis has been treasurer for 15 or so years. And what's funny, I used to work for him. I used to work for Curtis Loftus. He was the director of the Office on Aging. So my first job out of college, I worked for him when he was the director, and I was an intern. We can have another conversation about that some other day, but yes, so we know each other.
Okay, so the staff, especially staff that's been there, because although you're in an elected position, the other
Correct.
folks are not, right?
Correct.
So the staff, when you win
Mhm.
and you become the state treasurer,
Yes.
then how are you going to handle that transition to make sure that our state doesn't lose anything in that transition? Because they've been working for the same guy for 15 years. Even if somebody's been there 5 years, they've been working for the same person for the last 5 years. And now, what will you bring to the table? Well, two things. One, I want to understand, how will you handle that transition with the staff? Because I think it's important for the citizens as well as those that work at the treasurer's office to know about the continuity. That's the first part of the question.
Yeah, it's a great question. And the way I see it is almost like a transition of when a president becomes elected, right? So there's staff that has been there and making sure that that collective historical knowledge is not lost, right? And so folks are there to preserve the office of the treasurer, to support the treasurer. So if I come in, first thing I want to know, what needs to be preserved and what needs to be sustained. And so those folks in my day one, I'm not getting rid of anybody because I need to know exactly what's been working, what works well, and what doesn't work. And so having that very strategic transition time to hear from them, again, what's working, what if you had a magic, I like to say, if you had a magic wand, if there was no resource limits, what would you do to make things better? And so giving them that power, because I believe folks, once they are empowered, there's a lot that can be accomplished, but just giving them the power to use their voice and raise their voice to make the state better. So a very strategic and deliberate transition process to hear what's working and what's not working.
Love it. So let's go to this 70 billion.
Okay.
I don't know the number that was missing.
Yeah.
But can you talk to us about what was missing? Because it was hard to follow that whole news report. All I knew was that there was a whole bunch of money that was missing that was now found.
Yeah.
And what's going to happen with that money?
Sure. Yeah, and it's a very nuanced question, and on the trail, I've been have had the great pleasure to talk alongside Tiffany Boozer, who's running for Comptroller General, and also Bruce Cole. So there was about 5.3, I think, total $billion that may have been 5.3. Yeah,
billion.
Of that B with the B, not an M, but the B. And of that 5.3, I think 3 point some odd number was. The entries did not add up. So, how we get back to the 1.8, the 1.8 billion apparently was a journal entry that represented cash, and it was said that it represented real money. Well, we come to find out it was, as they said, it was not real money. And so what happened? the current treasurer, went to this General Assembly and said that I can access that money. It's in our bank, and it is here, and we can access it. Well, it comes to find out that wasn't the case. There's a report that actually the OIG, and I encourage folks to go out to the website. They can Google it and type in Treasurer's Office OIG report, and it lays this out very clearly. But the bottom line is that report highlights that there was mismanagement of taxpayer funds, but they didn't go so far as to say there was criminal activity. They just said that it was mismanaged. And so in the world of finance, and I'm sure you know this, trust is the number one, day one. At the end of the day, you have to have trust. You have to have trust and accountability in the office that you serve. So if there's any shadow or anything that makes one second guess, that's not a good place to be, especially when you oversee over $70 billion. So the sort of is that 1.8 billion, there were some questions about how it was reported, and apparently it was not. That information was held and kept from the General Assembly and even the public.
So now what will you do to address that transparency? Because this person's been there, with all due respect to the current treasurer,
Sure.
but he's been there for 15 years.
Sure.
What kind of transparency will you add so that the General Assembly, and I'm asking the question, I'm assuming that you're going to be adding, I think you said that your platform included transparency.
Yes.
What kind of transparency will you add that would minimize the loss of 1.8 or $5.3 billion as a journal entry?
Sure, absolutely. And actually, I want to give credit to the current Comptroller General's office, because after the report was issued, or when this was an ongoing investigation, and one of their recommendations was to create an internal auditor. And so I would love to marry those same practices and principles over in the Treasurer's office, to have an internal auditor, someone that can basically keep us accountable. In this line of work, you have to have some form of we have to have several actually internal controls that ensure that you don't have things like this to happen. You got to be proactive and not reactive.
Got it. So the issue was a multiple department issue.Got it.
Yes.
So moving on from that, and any questions you have, hi Katina. If you guys have any questions for Mr. Vincent Coe, he's a candidate for state treasurer. Any questions at all? He's here, willing to ask your question. Just go ahead and drop them in the chat. So what would you say is your greatest weakness?
Oh, wow. That's a great question. It may sound crazy, but I almost feel like my greatest weakness is also my greatest strength. My strength is that I like to uplift folks, but sometimes you might spread yourself too thin, because I don't like to tell folks no. I try to give my all, and there's only 24 hours in a day, and sometimes you want to give your best, and you want to, help make everybody win. But you just have to be able to do a deliberate no. And I talked about this, a deliberate no or reckless yes. So that if anything, I think that would be my weakness. And, I'm sure that if you talk to some people know me a long time, I'm sure they think of others, but that's the first thing comes to mind.
No, very good answer. So still waiting for any questions. See, the topic of treasurer is confusing to a lot of people. But let's get to know Vincent Coe, the man, for a second.
Sure.
Tell us about your family.
Absolutely. So I am the youngest of four. So I'm the baby. I have two older sisters and an older brother. As I said, born in Darlington. My mom is a nurse. She's a nurse practitioner. She's still working. And my father, he is a Vietnam veteran. And so actually, and I do want to take a moment and pause and just thank all of the service members, and particularly remember those who gave the ultimate sacrifice. That's just something I always in my heart is a special place for veterans. But my great grandparents and grandparents just instilled the great importance of hard work. And so again, myself, I have three nephews, I have two nieces, and I just like to spoil them and give them back to their parents.
Yes.
And go back to work.
Go back to work. So it sounds like you're a workaholic.
I am. I'm always working.
But, I think we need that in South Carolina right about now. Sure. So we have our first question, and it's from Miss Lizzie Crawford. Okay. And she wants to know, why do you feel you're the best candidate?
Yeah, it's a great question. I believe I'm the best candidate just given my past experiences. As I said, I've been former bank examiner. So in short of, I've been trained to verify and sworn to protect. That's the bottom line. I just believe that I have a certain level of skills and experiences that just makes me uniquely qualified for this role. And I didn't talk a little bit about this before, but I serve on multiple boards and committees. So I graduated from University of South Carolina. I sit on the Young Alumni Board for the Darla Moore School of Business. And I'm also the first vice president of the Florence Symphony Guild, so the local orchestra here in Florence. Okay. And I really love serving others in promoting the arts, civic activities, all of it. And I'm also part of the Divine Nine. So I'm a member of Omega Psi Phi fraternity, an officer in my local chapter. But again, I just believe service is where all of us can do our part, regardless of a title. And I think that's also what makes me qualified for this, because I'm not doing this for a title. I'm doing it because I just believe that I'm qualified to serve.
Thank you so much for that question, Lizzie. And I am hearing a workaholic, because you just dropped 3 more titles of things you do. So I just want to clarify something real quick. Sure. Because you said you work in Greenville?
I do.
You're from Darlington.
I do, yes.
Where do you live? You have to tell us. We're not gonna find you, but just like, which county do you live in now?
Sure. So home where I was born and raised is Darlington. Actually, it's where I have my little small farm in Darlington.
You're a farmer? Stop playing. Okay, that's my next question. But
sure. So I work.
Tell us about where you live and where you work.
Sure.
And then I want to hear about farming. I have passion in my heart for farmers.
Okay. So I work Monday through Friday at a bank in Greenville, South Carolina. United Community Bank is where I work Monday through Friday. So I have a little apartment there in Greenville. But my home, my home has been here for the past in Florence. I bought a house about 4 years ago in Florence, South Carolina. So I'm anywhere between Florence, Greenville, Darlington, and of course now since I've been on the trail up and down the roads of South Carolina, trying to get to know as many voters as I can.
I thank you for that, because I'm got that farmer question brewing in my head, so sit tight.
Okay.
This is the first time, and I mean, when I lived in Charlotte, I would go vote, and it would be a book of people. Mm-hmm. You just didn't really hear from folks that wanted to serve. I don't know how they expect to get elected, so I appreciate you for that. And Lizzie says, thank you, respect.
Absolutely.
So on respect, farmers, you have a small farm.
I do.
What are your crops? I want to know.
So this is a unique story as well. So the farm that I bought about 4 years ago, It's about 36, about almost close to about 40 acres. So think
Wow.
about the 40 acres of the mule,
Big.
right?
Yeah, that's big though.
So it sits behind the house that I grew up in. And my mom, as I said, is a nurse. My mom worked for that same family, and that's how she put herself through nursing school through on the tobacco farm. And
Wow.
so the farm, so here 40 plus some odd years later, I bought it from the farming family, and as we grow. Actually, I leased it out to a farmer that I went to elementary school with. We grow corn, just about 30 acres of corn right now we have. So this rain, we're really appreciating it.
Yes. Wait, what kind of corn? White corn, sweet corn?
I think it's
I'm
sweet
from
corn.
Jersey, and
I
we
see
take
that.
our corn really seriously in Jersey,
I
especially
see
South.
that. I'm pretty sure it's sweet corn, but like I said, he moved really fast on it because it sat dormant for about 2 years because I had another farmer that was doing soybeans on it,
Mm.
and so it's been dormant for the past 2 years. But I think he has sweet corn. I'm going to confirm that. But when we get some coming in, I'll make sure that I'm deliver some over to you in Mullins.
Please bring it to Juneteenth Mullins on June 13th. That's
There we go.
Saturday, June
Yes,
13th. I would love to have a sample of
yes, yes,
because it's going to be after the primary, and
yes.
I believe you got this.
Okay.
I do. I
Okay.
do. So, let me see any other questions. We got to work hard, y'all, right? And the one thing I will say about Vincent Coe is I did put out my list of my personal endorsements because again, a lot of times people don't have the time to do the research to make the phone calls and to get to know the candidates individually. I do
That's right.
because it's so important to me. It's so important to me that the people who are going for these positions in our state
Yeah,
that they're qualified.
yeah,
Not
absolutely.
that they're friends of somebody and they know somebody and that they're connected, but that they're qualified.
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
talking about $70 billion. You're talking about
yes.
$6 billion that just went missing. And I'm gonna tell you, for my time in financial services, when I was responsible for data warehousing, all the data of the company went through the data warehouse that I built, reporting, sales reporting. I did some financial reporting. I did
Hmm.
CRM.
Hmm.
And the numbers we dealt with were so big that we would round to the thousands at a minimum.
Wow.
A lot of times, so if it was, 1,000, 2,000, $10,000 short, we didn't care about it. It was not worth the
Correct.
effort to
Correct.
find that kind of money.
Yes.
What? You talking about billions?
Correct.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah.
worth the effort.
That's right.
That could forget Marion County or Mullins. If
Yeah.
we even had a portion of that, it would make a huge difference with our streets, community centers,
Yes.
you name it, playgrounds, businesses.
Yes.
So, what the treasurer is, I don't want to call it a secret position, but it's not one that we pay any attention to until it's time to collect our taxes.
Hmm.
Um, is there any part of it that would be community focused or community based?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what folks may not know also is that the treasurer also works on what's called the board of financial institutions. So they are very involved and entrenched with financial institutions all across the state. And financial institutions have a unique responsibility to ensure that they're serving all the needs of communities that they operate in. So as I mentioned, I serve as a CRE officer for Bank in Greenville, and one of the marching orders of CRA is to ensure that the bank is serving small businesses and farms, particularly those in those rural communities, right? And so the treasurer has a unique opportunity to engage with those smaller towns and asking those questions. Well, what are the banks doing in your area, and what could we do to help advocate more for the resources that you need? So it's a unique opportunity. And in my world, as a former bank examiner, that was one of the things you did when you do a CRA exam. You have a community contact. So you are deliberately reaching out to the communities and to listening to the needs so that you can help create those opportunities where they aren't. Or if there are opportunities, how can we improve them or enhance them? So
I
there's
love
great
it.
opportunity. And the other piece, I would not be a good CRA officer if I don't mention financial literacy. That is the backbone of where things need to go, right? Kids need to be engaged, need to know how to manage their money from a very young age.
Awesome. And we got one comment, and she says, "Thanks for doing this." She had to hear this for herself, and it's
Awesome.
definitely helped her make her decision. And so voters want to be asked. So I thank you, sir, for
Absolutely.
saying, "Yep, sign me up for Mondays with Miko." All right. And so this is from Pamela, the author. My goodness, she's awesome. She interviewed me, and she did a DNA. She did my DNA ancestry, which changed my life. I'm Nigerian, y'all.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. So
Uh-oh. Looks like the mayor may have shot
I'm
for a
back.
second.
I was trying to read her question.
Okay.
I took myself out of studio. All right. Move my mouse. So her question is, how can those from the community who no longer live there assist with helping qualified, capital Q, servant leaders get into office and maintain offices as long as they are willing to serve? How that's a great question that I'm asked a lot, and I have an answer, but I want to hear your answer.
That's an excellent question. And I think it's simple. We just have to keep talking about it around the dinner table. And even the new form of communication is through text message, right? So those group texts, those group family texts, that's how, I mean, we got to reinvent the Underground Railroad. I hate to say that, but not hate to say it, but that's just what we have to do. And we don't have to broadcast it necessarily. We just have to talk about it in a way that it's going to reach those that we care about. Because I moved away for a while from South Carolina, but I was still concerned because my folks were still here.
That's
And
right.
if you're concerned, if you have folks that here in the state and you don't no longer say, you still want to make sure that they're represented fairly and accountable. That's just how we got to do it. And you just own it.
What's your website?
Yeah, my website is Vincent, Vincent, for sc.com.
Send money, Pam.
Yeah, send money too. and Mayor,
That's what it is. Is this the correct website?
That is it, yes. And one thing I did forget to mention about the treasurer's office. Treasurer's office also oversees the unclaimed money money that is that needs to be returned. So I dropped that link in the chat so folks can check that out. If you may know of anybody that might have.
You put it in the chat, or did you put it in the comments?
I put it in the chat. I'll drop it in comments.
Yeah, drop it in comments because then everybody can see it.
Okay.
And then let me tell you, because I did that and I got to check.
There you go.
I got to check. So yeah, let me find that website. It don't hurt to check it. Check
Absolutely.
it for you, check it for your family members. And the check came right away too. It didn't take long at all.
Time. That's right.
Going back to Pam's question, and we're wrapping up, guys. So if you didn't get your question in, because if you're watching on replay, we don't answer the replay questions. We only answer the questions that are live, which is why I put those times out there. Okay. So yeah. So any questions? Time for your last question. But campaigns cost a lot of money.
Yes.
And that's why I believe that we don't always get the candidates that we deserve.
That's right.
Because Vincent has to go to 46 counties, 271 cities in the state of South Carolina.
That's right.
Humanly, that's not possible to do. No. So he needs texting, he needs phone banking, he needs all these other things to get his message out, and all of that costs money. Gotcha. I see you dropped it. And then let's see, there it is. And I put it up there. All righty. Is that it? What we do for citizens? But you can also just Google treasurer and unclaimed property.
Yes.
It's a very, very easy website. Yes. So I'm going to give you the final word. Okay. I don't see any other questions at this point. Giving you the final word. What do you have to say to the people? Because it starts tomorrow.
Yes, it does. And first and foremost, I encourage folks to vote early tomorrow. If you can do it before 11 a.m., there's a lot of things happening around the redistricting, but the sooner we can get in there and get those votes started, we send in a message to the State House, and not just the State House, but Washington, D.C. I believe this campaign is not about myself. As I said, I'm a servant leader. I believe that we all are better together, as the mayor, like the mayor even say that. Stronger together. There's space for all of us. And I've also said, too, that if you don't have a seat at the table, it's more than likely that your interests are on the menu. So your vote, Your vote is a seat at the table. And so this is our moment. And when I say our, I mean all of us. It's everybody's moment. And this can be done if we work together. South Carolina has a lot of potential, is growing fast. There's more than enough opportunity for everybody. I believe that I'm qualified for this seat. And elected or not, I'm going to continue to work. VincentForSC.com. I appreciate y'all. Keep me lifted in prayer if you do believe. But just send a nice little thought. But thank you, Mayor. Thank you so much for having me. I'm more than just humbled by the opportunity. So thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you. So I tell you, that was Vincent Coe. He is a candidate for state treasurer. And hearing his background, I mean, we all got to see how important it is to have somebody that is absolutely qualified in that position. I mean, attorney, preacher, banking experience, worked at the FDIC. I mean, he's traveling all over the state, even when he wasn't running. Between the farm, he's a farmer. I feel like I learned more about him, and I've been trying to learn more about him, talking to him personally. So this to me was really good. I appreciate him. And we do have to vote. And we have to vote, please, if you can. If there's any way, you heard him say it, but if there's any way, please vote tomorrow. Please vote tomorrow, because our vote is being tampered with. If they all of a sudden decide that they're going to redistrict our state so that the state could send 7 red Republicans to DC, that doesn't give us diversity of thought. That actually doesn't even give everybody in South Carolina a voice at the table. That's, in my view, cheating. So let's stand up against that. Vote tomorrow. Bring your family, bring your friends. And I will be back at 4 o'clock. At 3 o'clock, if you're in Mullins or nearby, please join me at OBS, which is across from the library. I don't even want to say her title because I get it wrong all the time. But retired U.S. Navy officer Ed Levon, for the last 5 years, she has what's called Taps Across America. And she's done it over at the Square. This year, she's doing it at OBS. It's very, very brief. She starts at 3 o'clock on the dot. You know how the military is. They play taps so they can pay homage to those that have gave the ultimate sacrifice and service to our country. My father, he was in Vietnam. He recently passed away. So I will have with me his hat, the actual hat that he wore every day. My dad wore that hat every day. So I'll be having that with me. So please come, bring your family, bring your children, and we will not be long. And right after that, then I'll be back on at 4 o'clock with the next candidate. Alrighty. Thank you so much for joining, everybody. Please like and share.